I'm sure you've heard now about the three retired generals who wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post, very brief one. In this op-ed, these three generals suggest strongly that the United States prepare for what's coming in 2024, an insurrection that could trigger a second civil war. The three generals, Paul Eaton, retired Major General in the Army. He's now a senior advisor to Vote Vets. Antonio Taguba, retired Army Major General, 34 years active duty service. And Stephen Anderson, retired Brigadier General, served in the Army for 31 years. These are all Army generals. These are all generals who are familiar with combat operations, and they are warning us. Let me just share with you what they wrote. And I'll take it directly from the Washington Post. They write, as we approach the first anniversary of the deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, we, all of us former senior military officials, we are increasingly concerned about the aftermath of the 2024 presidential election and the potential for lethal chaos inside our military, which would put all Americans at severe risk. In short, we are chilled to our bones at the thought of a coup succeeding next time. One of our military strengths is that it draws from our diverse population. It is a collection of individuals, all with different beliefs and backgrounds, but without constant maintenance, the potential for a military breakdown mirroring societal or political breakdowns is very real. The signs of potential turmoil in our armed forces are there. On January 6th, a disturbing number of veterans and active duty members of the United States military took part in the attack on the Capitol. More than 1 in 10 of those charged in the attacks have a service record. A group of 124 retired military officials under the name Flag Officers for America released a letter echoing Donald Trump's false attacks on the legitimacy of our elections. Recently, and perhaps more worrying, Brigadier General Thomas Mancino, the commanding general of the Oklahoma National Guard, refused an order from President Biden mandating that all National Guard members be vaccinated against the coronavirus. Mancino claimed that while the Oklahoma National Guard is not federally mobilized, his commander-in-chief is the Republican governor of the state, not the president. The potential for a total breakdown of the chain of command along partisan lines, from the top of the chain to squad level, is significant should another insurrection occur. The idea of rogue units organizing among themselves to support the so-called rightful commander-in-chief cannot be dismissed. Imagine competing commanders-in-chief, a newly re-elected Biden giving orders versus Trump, or another Trumpian figure issuing orders as the head of a shadow government. Worse, imagine politicians at the state and federal levels illegally installing a losing candidate as president. All service members take an oath to protect the U.S. Constitution. But in a contested election with loyalties split, some might follow orders from the rightful commander-in-chief, while others might follow the Trumpian loser. Arms might not be secured depending on who was overseeing them. Under such a scenario, it is not outlandish to say a military breakdown could lead to civil war. In this context, with our military hobbled and divided, U.S. security would be crippled. Any one of our enemies could take advantage by launching an all-out assault on our assets or our allies. The lack of military preparedness for the aftermath of the 2020 election was striking and worrying. Trump's acting Defense Secretary, Christopher Miller, testified that he deliberately withheld military protection of the Capitol before January 6th. Army General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, reportedly scrambled to ensure the nation's nuclear defense chain was secure from illegal orders. It is evident the whole of our military was caught off guard. With the country still as divided as ever, we must take steps to prepare for the worst. First, everything must be done to prevent another insurrection. Not a single leader who inspired it has been held to account. Our elected officials and those who enforce the law, including the Justice Department, the House Select Committee, and the whole of Congress, must show more urgency. But the military cannot wait for elected officials to act. The Pentagon should immediately order a civics review for all members, uniformed and civilian, on the Constitution and electoral integrity. There must also be a review of the laws of war and how to identify and deal with illegal orders. And the Pentagon must reinforce the unity of command to make perfectly clear to every member of the Defense Department whom they answer to. No service member should say they didn't understand whom to take orders from during a worst-case scenario. In addition, all military branches must undertake more intensive intelligence work at all installations. This goal should be to identify, isolate, and remove potential mutineers. Also to guard against efforts by propagandists who use misinformation to subvert the chain of command, and to understand how that and other misinformation spreads across the ranks after it is introduced by propagandists. Finally, the Defense Department should wargame the next potential post-election insurrection of coup attempt to identify weak spots. It must then conduct a top-down debrief of its findings and begin putting in place safeguards to prevent breakdowns not just in the military, but also in any agency that works hand in hand with the military. The military and lawmakers have been gifted hindsight to prevent another insurrection from happening in 2024. But they will succeed only if they take decisive action now. That in full is the op-ed piece that got some publicity when it was first published 10 days ago or a week ago. I mean, what a thing. What a thing to realize that these are three military officers of nearly the highest rank. They're all generals, not full generals, brigadier and I guess a major general, lieutenant general, warning the American people that the United States military has been divided and continues to be divided to the extent that it puts everything this republic has tried to be, or at least what our documents have said we should try to be, at risk. Donald Trump is the worst, most vile incident of terror and law-breaking that this country has ever experienced since this country was this country by an individual. Donald Trump, one of the worst human beings ever to shoot out of his disgusting mother. And look what he's done. Look what he continues to do. And look what his followers are doing. Well, we better stop looking and start preparing. Seriously. I hope we do. I hope we do. Now, the Christian Fascist Party, which was built on the corpse of the Republican Party, is getting rid of the few moderates that remain in that party. And what is coming next from the Christian Fascist Party is, to a certain extent, unimaginable. In the first place, we have 23 Democrats in the House who have said they're not going to seek re-election. We don't need to wait for the results of these midterms coming up in 11 months to know that a political shockwave is headed toward Washington and the rest of the country. I mean, it is happening in front of our eyes. Do you understand that? It's happening even as we speak. And the leadership in this country, the Democratic Party leadership in the executive branch and the legislative branch, both appear to be doing nothing to prepare or counter or stop this. It's just business as usual. The country is under attack. The coup effort did not stop January 6th. It has been in 2020. It has been ongoing. It is continuing even as we speak. The orange vomit's takeover and subsequent destruction of the Republican Party is almost complete. And as pointed out in a piece in the Washington Post, what had previously been a fringe element within the so-called Republican Party is ready to emerge fully in control. The fascist Christians. The two big lies are no longer considered radical inside what's left of the Republican Party, and certainly not within the guts of the fascist Christians. And that is that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump, and that the January 6th attack on the Capitol was not serious enough to even merit an investigation. Now, the person who wrote this piece, Doug Sosnick, says that Republicans can be expected to take over the House of Representatives after the midterm election. Most likely, this is going to happen by a considerable margin. And the orange vomit already dominates what's left of the GOP at the state and local levels. And with the exceptions of the two renegade Republicans where it concerns the coup against this country, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, Trump, this filthy subhuman Trump, has a vice-like grip on the House members who are now no longer Republican, but are fascist Christians. Even if Trump doesn't run in 2024, what this filthy pig believes, and don't ask me what it is, it's all about violence and power. He is a Nazi fuck from everything about him. But that now represents mainstream Republican thinking. And as Doug points out, even if the Democratic Party can maintain its sliver-like grip on the Senate, what is left of the reasonable wing of the soon-to-be dead Republicans in the Senate is about to disappear. The Republican half of the Senate, those 50 members, is right now on the brink of an incredibly irresponsible era. And what happens coming November 2022 will cement that trend. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.